All right, guys, let's get going. Welcome to another Friday evening with the Protege Effect. And I know it takes a lot of dedication to give up a 6 o'clock on a Friday night when you could be social, but you know what? We're being social here, and you're bettering yourself and very possibly your business. So tonight we have Tanya over here who's going to put herself on the spot, going to demonstrate some of her skills, and hopefully we can all learn something. I'm super excited to be here. Number one, I get to learn something. Number two, I get to teach something. And number three, we get to make a whole lot of new friends, and we can start feeding off each other's ideas. That's the whole idea of Protege Effect. At the end of the workshop, we're launching our first big competition. It's a bit of a creative challenge with an awesome prize. So we're really going to put you guys to the test. We'll be running it from Gerrit's Facebook page. Mainly all the people's voting out there will be what determines it. So it won't be me and Carlo and whoever. We'll let the public vote for the best one that followed the rules. And there's only 2 rules, guys. So it is super simple, but super complicated at the same time. But more about that afterwards. For now, I was going to say, welcome, guys. Sit back, enjoy. And if you want to add anything, just raise your hand if you know how to do that, or pop us a chat. Tanya, over to you.
Okay. I hope everyone can see my screen. Correct one, that is.
Yes, all good.
Okay, so we're doing cake toppers. Apparently, I can do them in my sleep. Got a few things, as you can see on the agenda. We're going to work with some different texts and fonts and how to use them, work around it, do your little stockies. This one over here, probably won't use that ever. Thank you, Billy. How to mix your different fonts and shapes and numbers and all those types of things, using the internet, some keywords to use and so on. That really helps with searching for the right type of vector you need. Working with a photo, which is normally a nightmare, I promise you. And then obviously we'll just discuss further on the different sizes, what works, what doesn't work. Pricing I'll probably give over between Billy and Carlos. They can deal with that. And then your different materials, or at least the different type of materials that I use. And some new things that I've recently started with. So to start off, let's go to your different text and fonts. I have previously, earlier today, I've taken this. Let's just put this up and lock it. And I've decided I'm just going to use the word cake topper. Let's just make it a bit bigger. Okay. So which font do we use? So generally speaking, you want to go for a more cursive font because they're a bit easier to work with. But let's say your client doesn't want a cursive font. They adamant, no, they don't want cursive. They want something a lot different. So what we found is Claridon works the easiest, especially for a cake topper. So there's 2 different ways you can go about using this. This is not doing what I wanted to do. Sorry guys, I just want to move this down and out of my way. Okay, there we go. So like I said, 2 ways of doing this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and then paste this. So I've got 2 different ones, or like Carlos likes to do, and duplicate it. I'm still learning that one. So the 2 things you can do is you can take your font, convert it to curves. Once you've converted it, you can break it apart, and it's going to look really weird and funny, but that happens. And then you can literally go and, sorry, let me change my nudge factor here to say 1 mil. And you literally just connect them. Right. Obviously, we are not going to do cake topper as 1 word. It's 2 different words. You'll add the topper to the bottom. Make sure that they do connect, else you're going to have parts that falls apart. And that does happen, and it has happened numerous times to us.
Like my advert.
Like the adverts, yes, they fall apart.
It's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
Yes. Okay, now don't make the mistake and go and weld this directly. It's not going to work. What happens if I just go and weld it, and let's just take that off. As you can see, all your inner parts, I guess, is gone. So you're not going to go and directly weld that. What you will do is from here, a little bit better. Okay. So from here, it's terrible. From here, you can then go to objects, sharing, and weld. You see now all your parts are welded together and it won't fall apart. But
So just a quick one. The other way that you can do the join or the combine is if you don't want to push Control L, you can right click, you can select everything, right click, and you can select the combine from there. What the combine does, if it's got little holes and stuff in, it combines that and folds it, and then the next step when you weld it, then it welds all the different letters together basically.
okay, your other option is, I'm just going to go cut and, sorry guys, cut that. I'm going to take the topper part, I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to paste it somewhere else so that it's two different words. Once you've got that done, now, so you don't want to put the words together because it doesn't look nice, which is understandable. Not everyone likes it. So your second option that you can do is literally make a little box, literally just like that, fill it, and you do the same here. So what normally works the best is to take it like with its T, you make it the size of the bottom of that T, and you pull it through all the way to the end of the R. And we will take that, make sure that it connects to there. Okay. And then from here on, we will combine all these together. So we convert that to curves. That's still not right. I need this. There we go. Okay. So what we'll do first is let's weld that together. That will go there. We'll weld that. Then we'll weld them together. All right. Now you've got your two different toppers, whichever one you decide to work, which is in just a plain font, non-cursive. But you need your little topper sticks. So what I like to do is I'll make my little stick. I tend to make them about 4 mils wide and 90 mils long, which isn't very big, but you'll see now. From here, I copy to work a bit faster, and I paste. I take that one that I copied and paste, and I cut it down to just 9 mil. I add it to the bottom of the 90 mil stick, up at one, convert it to a curve, create a node by double clicking on it so it goes to your little node thingies, and then from there you drag the corners up to the longer little sticky thingy, and you've got your point. Once you have your point, select them all and weld. There you have your stick, which we'll keep one side because once we get to the sizes, we can then fit it and it's going to work perfectly. Right. But now we want to use a cursor font. I've got a couple of cursor fonts that I tend to like to use, and you will see why. One of them is this back to black. As you can see, literally the only thing you need to do here is connect those and your O to your T. Let's just do this. I'll show you, I'm going to show you 3 different fonts on this, and there's a specific reason why I'm going to do that. Okay, so the one font, like I say, I like to use is the back to black, the bold, and then another one that's always nice as well is Painter. You see, once again, that's a, obviously you get different strokes for different folks, and not one of my favorites to use for cake toppers, but you'll see why I'm using this specific one. This is the Brittany signature. Okay, so let's just go, there's the extra one. We go back to here, and what we do here is, once again, we'll make sure that it's 2 different words stacked, else you have to connect it, and that never looks too good. We convert it to a curve, and we break the curve apart. Reason being, we need this E to just make it a bit smaller. There we go. Jump in here, and we combine. It's a lot better. Same here. If you, what I often do, because I don't always like to drop the T, in this case, I'll drop the T, but like with a B or something, it looks odd if you move the stripe of the B. So what I do then is I double click it to get to the little nodes. I select the top couple of nodes and I just move it up. So, and obviously from there you can straighten it and work around it or smooth it out. But with this, we don't really need to do that. So once again, we'll break it apart. We'll take the T and we'll drop it down a bit. Once you drop the T, automatically your O and your P is connected. So your topper is now completely connected. And we will combine it. That's one thing. If you are uncertain if everything is connected, and even if you go through like to here, nice and thick, but you're still not sure, I just want to weld this, you're still not sure if all is connected. Normally what I do, I go to the Smart Fill and I fill it. If everything is not connected, the whole word will not fill. So that's just a little double check on yourself, which sometimes really does help, because you'll cut it and you'll see the parts are falling apart and you don't know why. Always do the fill if you're unsure.
And can you do the wireframe trick in Corel, or is that only in that other program?
No, the wire trick is Corel. Right, so what Billy is talking about, the wireframe, is I often use it for when I'm doing any vinyl cuts, because this also helps. So at your, in your menu, top menu, go to view and click on wireframe. You see, no matter what everything you've got then will literally change to this. So if we put it off again to enhanced or normal, it's back to your folds. This one to, let's just do that in wireframe so you can actually see what it does. There, object, shaping, weld, and there you can see it's all connected. I don't want to do that. I want to get these two connected. So it's actually a good thing it did that. sometimes when there are these funny shapes and fonts, you do want to turn it a bit just so it's easier to connect. And we will weld it and it's stuck together. So with this, I'm sure I don't need to repeat everything that I did previously. Everyone gets it and you understand. If you don't, please shout at me. Okay, going down to this, as you can see, this is a lot skinnier font. So what happens, let's just have a quick look here. If we take the dimension of this, it is literally 36 mils, or 0.36 mils. So that is, your laser is going to burn that away. It's not going to cut it. That's why I wanted to show you this. Right, once again, cut it, put it there. Okay, so now before we do anything, let's work on the top of this because it's got the loose parts. We're going to go to your contour. Just 2 seconds. I'm going to jump around now because I want to do this in the format that I would normally do. So what I will do from here, before I start contouring it, I would size it. So in general, rule of thumb is a cake topper is 150 mils. So 15 centimeters for a topper. So if we do 15 centimeters, let's measure it. That's 2.73 mil, which in general, you can cut that. It won't be too bad. But let's say that you don't want to chance it and you don't want it to burn, or God forbid, your tube is on its way out and it cuts extremely ugly. Or you've got terrible wood, which we had at one point, and it burns more than what it cuts.
Or the client has hard hands and breaks the thing that's too fine.
Or that. Okay. So let's just make this red. We don't want to do too big of an offset, but you still want to have it, the offset big enough that you can work with it. So we normally start on the 2.25. Yeah, it's extremely small. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time I go for a 0.5. So once we've got the 0.5, before I make my final decision on that, I would measure it again. Let's say 3.6. So that's about the thickness of your wood, a little more perfect. What we do from there is break your curve apart. You take your original font and do the letter. So now you're left with your curve. So what often happens when you do that, immediately that little bit that you have now contoured puts all your fonts together, and you don't have to break them apart and put them together. But as you can see here, they are quite far apart, so we still need to do that. What you can do from the P to the E is, instead of actually pulling them together, do your polyline and try and get it more or less the same thickness and connect it that way. We've got that there connected, break it apart. Connect your two P's and your upper to your T. Put your top. And combine. See now here, the combine went all funny. What another word, but let's just say funny. And now it specs once you've welded it. Double check it here. All connected. Nowhere it's going to cut out and go weird. And as you can see now, it's a bit smaller, so you just resize it to your 150.
Also, what you can do is, just before you do your contour offset, you can go and color in with your little paint fill. Like the example here at the E, you can color in that center of the E And then once you've done your contour, you can then subtract the center of that E from your outside thing, and then your little E, for example, will still have a center, or you can just go manually draw it in with your eye if you want a little hooligan inside your E.
Okay. This is not the best font for a cake topper. As you can see, it doesn't work too well because that T is just way too big. But you'll do something like that. I'm going to make this one bigger, size it, and I'm going to put the little stick on there before we go to the rest of the things. I've got my little stick here, to the bottom. Now, depending on your cake topper and the size of your cake topper, because obviously if you've got someone who's got a long word, because you're doing custom toppers, 99% of the time it's a happy birthday, whoever. So see, like Anna Marie's a long name. So if you take a happy birthday Anna Marie, you'll probably put 2 sticks in instead of 1, because just you need that extra support. Pick where you want it normally, and I'll do it round about there, because putting it on the P just gives it that little extra length and possibility of breaking. Once again, from here, you just select all and you'll weld them together. And then once you cut that, it should all work very well together. Okay. But now, let's just take this one here. You've got a cake topper and a number. So let's say cake topper, 26 cake topper. Why someone would do that, I don't know, but let's try it. So in general, once you go on your numbers and you work with a cursor in your numbers, that was the painter. Most fonts, because I'm sure all of you have the fonts or 101 free fonts and their demos, so numbers and funny characters don't work. Yeah. So you go for a number and you change it into your fancy little font, it tends to go funny, or make like that 2 is all weird and the 6, and they just don't always look too good. So generally we'll go back to Claridon. Claridon saves the world. Yeah. You've got your cake topper here. It's just, instead of struggling to connect, instead of connecting just while I'm here, often what I do is if I see I can connect the 2 words without having to connect the individual letters and it will work, go for it. That helps. And it does work as well. And 26. So normally if someone has a number in it, they would tend to want the number a bit bigger. And since we can see here, we're going to have to connect this number. So we convert it to curves. We break it, you can break it apart, or if you don't want to break it apart, you can do that. If it's a 26, a 2 number figure, you can do them separately as 2 different texts. Or just do it the long way. Right, let's connect them and we find a spot where they won't look too odd. Okay. Let's normally just before you weld everything together, weld the individual words or letters. What is this sort of thing? There we go, that looks better. Else you're going to get quite a funny thing going for you. Weld, and let's weld this together. Okay. From there, we will weld them all together. We'll size it. Take it now. And once again, you'll put your little stick where you feel it will be the best. If you do want to put 2 sticks, which I will show you on the next one, because the next one's going to need 2 sticks. So now you kind of see how we go about doing words and letters and adding words and letters. Once you can do the same with, like you did with a number and a letter, with different fonts. Say if your cake was one font and your topper was a different font. Same concept, working on the same thing. But now we've got and I actually had one of these before, Ben, and little Mr. Ben is turning, I don't know, 8. And little Mr. Ben over here absolutely loves cricket. As you can see, I've already got some cricket vectors here. But Tanya, how do you find these silhouette vectors? Very easy. You go to Google, put in the cricket silhouette vectors. You can put cricket SVG, cricket vector. Normally the silhouette works best because it will literally give you silhouettes. Unless you are looking to do engraving on a cake topper, which I won't recommend because then your cake topper is going to start working out expensive. I just picked the first one because that one worked the best for me. Put back in here. So from here, I'm going to go quick trace, detailed logo. Let it run. I am looking at using which one that I'm going to use. So instead of looking at all of them, try and see which one do you want to use. We'll go for that middle guy. And concentrate on him rather in getting everything nicely. Let's just go 75, moving down to 5. Group by color, delete original, and I don't want a background. Okay, that guy looks fairly good. Okay. So I want to use this guy. I have sized into my 150. It is for Ben, who they want to keep in a plain font. We're putting up Claridon, converting him to a curve, and we are breaking him apart. Move it closer. Okay. There's Ben, and Ben is turning 8. Make nice and big and add it in there. Okay. So now we've got all our elements of our cake topper on, and now we need to start looking at welding and fixing and working around all our problems that we tend to run into. Okay, first off, let's just weld Ben together. Once we've got Ben welded together, we're gonna weld Ben and the 8. I tend to not select everything and weld them. I've realized if I do that, things 9 out of 10 times goes wrong, where there's a funny line or something jumps. What can I undo? So do Ben and the 8, and then goes to an arc. Okay.
Well, Tanya's doing that. The nice thing about Tanya's method about doing one at a time is that if you've welded everything together and there's a problem and it's an unclosed curve, then you're not exactly sure where to look. But when you're doing them one by one and you're welding them together and you suddenly see a problem, then you know which element you must focus on before you actually try and weld something. It just stops you from going into a loop and spending an hour trying to figure out why your thing won't join or weld or whatever.
Okay. Let's quickly do the little stick.
You're running a few minutes behind.
Okay. I'll hurry up Well, that one, and we'll just copy and paste it. So we've got 2 of them. And this is where things starts to get interesting with the two sticks, because obviously you need them to align at the bottom. So I would generally take one, decide where I want it. So we'll put 1 stick there. And then I'll go and I'll make a little box at the bottom, line it with the bottom of that stick. So I'm going to put this one by the 8 just to make it a little more difficult for myself. Line it over there. Oh no, it's too short. You can't just make it longer, because then your bottom little sharp end is going to stretch, which we don't want because it's going to look odd. So you go into your node, select your top 2 and just pull them up. Go. The bottom of your 2 sticks are connected or same leg at the same thingy. I forgot the word. And there is that cake topper. Okay. There we go. Right. So these are fairly easy. You vector them and you can work from there, which isn't that difficult. I'm sure you don't need me to go into too much detail or redo most of what I've already done. But let's say you get this. So for those of you who haven't done these, I tend to call them a cake block. I've recently started doing these for a client of mine, and they tend to be smaller, where your cake topper is 150 mils long. These tend to be 100 mil or even shorter. So they do tend to become difficult and become a problem. But this is an actual picture that the specific client sent to me, and this is what she wants. So this will be very easy to just draw right out, and there we go. But let's say it was something more complicated. I couldn't find an old photo from a client, so we'll just work with this. Now from here, I need to take this chopper and work on it. How we do that?
Mode.
Yeah.
You can go grayscale.
Grayscale. Don't go black and white, because it's going to take you to a whole different thing, which is a whole different training session, which I'm sure Billy would love to teach you. Right. I'm going to go grayscale. And we don't need to actually do any advancement on this image. But if you need to, you'll go to Effects, Adjustment, and Image Adjustment, where you will then set your brightness and your contrast to where it's more workable for you.
Or watch Cola's video on tracing for geniuses.
Or you can do that. So once you've got it black and white, it's going to be a lot easier, or grayscale, to then, oh, that looks terrible. This is not a very good image. Okay. Right, now you're over here, you do that, you do that. You go to your colors, which I'm sure you had some or other training session for this. Because Billy taught me these tricks. Oh, this is really a bad one, guys. No, this one doesn't work.
Trace that one by hand. Show with a poly curve. Just trace it. That's going to be the best for that one, I think. Because sometimes you can't find the font, or it's going to take you guys so long to look for a font. In this case, I won't even hit Google, because by the time I've searched for that font, I could literally have drawn it out. You can see how far she is now. You got polyline, not polycurve, Tanya. We love to use the spline, the B spline in Corel. It's called similar things in other software. It's a lot more forgiving on your drawing skills, because it automatically curves and smooths everything for you. Then it doesn't look like a 2-year-old drew it.
Yeah, especially for someone like me who is not very good at freehand drawing. That's why I've got Billy.
Well, in the spirit of us watching Tanya draw in silence, I'm going to start talking about the little competition that we'll be launching at the end of the session. It's going to be of course, a cake topper design competition. However, there is certain criteria. The criteria is that there are two specific fonts. I think it's Clarodon and Freestyle Script. The competition rules are as follows. We see who in South Africa can make the best cake topper using a laser cutter, 3D printer, CNC router, vinyl cutter, cardstock cutter, scissors and cereal boxes if you want, as long as it's all in the same type of topic. But you are only allowed to use the two fonts. So that's really going to stretch your creativity to see who can make the best topper using the most minimal of resources possible. And of course, there will be some awesome prizes up for grabs. So it's not just a competition for bragging rights, but I'll announce what the prizes are and stuff as well on Gerrit's Facebook page, and we'll do it inside the CNC WhatsApp support group. And then, of course, the voting will happen on Gerrit's page. The public will vote. It won't be me or Carlo or anybody else. We'll let the public vote, let them decide who made the best cake topper according to the criteria.
Okay, there's just a quick cut out of that. Not the best, but in a desperate situation, that will work. And then obviously you can then smooth that out a bit and work a bit more on it. But yeah, that is the long and the short of most toppers. Let's just quickly combine that. Okay, so I'm just going to use this as what I did for the client who actually picked up earlier as a little cake block, and make it 100 by 72. Okay, so next topic was going to be, we've done it. I'm going to skip this, the topic number 5, which is the standards, which we've already spoken about size-wise. The pricing I'll leave for last, and just have a quick chat with you regarding materials. Obviously, your different materials will be priced differently. You can really, both between Carlo and Billy, both of them has got costing programs that you can get, whichever one works best for you. So different materials we use is obviously your normal MDF, which we 9 out of 10 times tend to paint, and for some reason always gold or black. Very seldom different colors, but most of it's gold or black. Another type of material we use often, and I've got it here behind me, is your mirror acrylic. I'm sure you guys know. Let me just put this blow off. And I'm going to ask you to just please excuse the mess behind me. It is my workshop. So we all know the mirror. Once again, gold is what we use most of the time. And lately, especially for the cake blocks, I've been using glitter foam, especially for your cake blocks, because it's bendable and it won't break. People absolutely love this. What you can also do is you can make your cake topper out of your wood. You cut this, and stick it onto your cake topper. But if you do that, don't cut your sticks on this. Just the top part of your topper, because you don't want the glitter to go into your cake. And that's the type of materials I use. We have previously done cake toppers, glued the whole topper and threw glitter on it. Please, that's a mess, and you'll be picking up glitter for the next 2 years all over your house. The glitter foam works wonders. We have also on the cake blocks, I've used different types of cardboard paper, your stock card. You can use them as well, but because it's stock card, if it's on the cake, it does tend to go a bit oily and a little weird and funny. So I would stick to the glitter foam. And yeah, I think that is...
It's really cool to take MDF with glitter foam, and you can stack the glitter foam because it's nice and light. Like Tanya's made a fancy TikTok logo with all the different colors and things, and you can use... Yeah, you can mix the glitter with the normal foams and even stick cardboard in between. Now, I've seen some things on the group, and especially from Johanna, where they use like multiple different materials and just start stacking the stuff, basically. Yeah, guys, so when it comes to these toppers, I really love to hate them and I hate to love them. It becomes a bit monotonous after a few years when you've been doing cake toppers every week because everybody I speak to, it just seems like cake toppers is a big seller. So if you don't currently have them in your arsenal, you really need to get them in there. I know people are selling toppers anywhere from 20 Rand up to 300 Rand a topper. I've seen. We sell our toppers for 150 Rand. Uh, I know some people, we used to sell them for like 75 Rand for a wood one, 120 Rand for a Perspex one. And now we just go, 150 Rand for a topper, whether it's wood, Perspex, or whatever. Because quite frankly, the material on the topper is not what costs you money. That 150 Rand will cover any material, as long as it's not a 10 layer. If it's a 1 or a 2 layer thing and it's painted, 150 Rand or more will cover that. But I can guarantee you that the time it took you to design, whether it's Perspex or whether it's MDF, is the same time, guys. And that's where your money lies, because your time is your money. So at one stage we were thinking of only doing Perspex toppers because we could sell them for more expensive. And when we put our price the same for all the toppers, and we still got them sold. Yes, you can buy a 20 Rand topper from the China shop, but it's not customized. They're not going to put a special name on for you and stuff. So we just decided, look, for customized toppers, that's our price. That's what we're going for. Because most of the time, nobody orders a cake topper 3 weeks in advance. I can guarantee you that. It's a day before the time, 2 days before the time. You know what? So 150 bucks is actually cheap. On Saturday mornings when they phone Tanya, then they 250 bucks.
Yeah, Billy, I can add on to that. As some people feel a cake topper it's such a stupid thing and it doesn't have any value, and it's some people, you don't find it fulfilling to make. But if you run it as a business, I mean, it's probably one of the most profitable items that you can make if you apply with and especially the stuff that Tanya showed us today. I've made, I can't even think about the amount of toppers that I've made, and I've been stuck in my way of designing them, and just applying some of the things that I've learned tonight. I can design them even quicker, and you can run through them so quick. And I had a quick look at the costing of the material, and for me, if I make them 150 wide by, let's say, 220 high, the material cost is not even 4 Rand. So that's negligible. The design cost, even if you charge up to 180 Rand an hour and you break it down in minutes, you can get so many of them out if you advertise this and do it. It's really such a nice, profitable part of the business, which I don't think anybody should neglect. It really adds on to your business and just fills up the gaps when you don't have any other work. I can't see anybody not wanting to do it.
And if you have the excuse that there's 15 other people in your town or in your block or living in your house or however many laser cutting people there are around, don't use it as an excuse. Make your price and then start getting creative with your toppers. Start using different materials. I can tell you that right now, Perspex is really the in thing. And not the colored Perspex, the clear Perspex. You'll see that probably a year ago it hit the international markets. The Americans and everybody else started doing it. And now slowly but surely the South Africans are getting a hang of that trend. And especially the young people, they are loving that. They call it it's a crystal topper. So you can take different levels of your clear Perspex and you can glue them together and stack them, and it looks literally like crystal. And then if you're shining light and stuff on it, and they look really awesome on photos. What's everybody doing? TikTok and photos and stuff. If you've got a nice shiny topper over there and you're doing your videos and stuff, that shines nice back at the photos, gives them nice TikTok videos, and that's where you want to try and make your money on the latest trends. So that kind of thing, start looking at it. If you start making acrylic toppers as an example, before the 15 other people in your neighborhood, at least you've got a week or two before they start copying you, but you've beat them to it, and you started getting better. And when those 15 people start making acrylic cake toppers, start going one better. Raise your price and make a better product. All I'm saying, and I'm saying it from a personal point of view, because I've made that mistake my whole life, is I kept on dropping my price to try and beat the guy next door. Now what I do to be the guy next door, I better my product and I make my price more expensive. And we were hoping to get less clients so we could do more expensive work, but now we're getting more clients because the stuff's more expensive because they think it's better quality. So that's our method of thinking. We stopped complaining about the neighbors with machines and we just started doing our own thing. I don't even look at other people's prices anymore, to be 100% honest with you. We just put it out there. We look what it's worth. If we sell them, we sell them. And I would rather sell them at my price than drop my price and make them and then be angry with myself and frustrated because now I've wasted my time. I'm getting nothing for doing this. And then this job or this passion that I had for laser cutting becomes horrible to me because I'm literally being a slave. So yeah, when I sell a cake topper now and I get my $150, I go whoop whoop, and at the same time the client's extremely happy.
Yeah, if I can add on to that with the lower prices, as the saying goes, a cheaper price is remembered for a day. Good service and a good product is remembered forever. It's not worth it dropping the price and running at a loss for that matter. They don't do a proper costing and they do run at a loss. And as you say, you work as a slave and you're not making any money and you're busy the whole month. And the end of the month, you can't understand why you don't have any money in the bank because you worked your butt off the whole month. So yes, the only advice on that can be is price your items right, and yes, better the product. As Billy say, if you make an acrylic topper now, and when you need to better your product, just add a little layer onto it, just add something small onto it. We found that when we make a normal topper, and even if the client didn't ask for it, we send them a proof of something with an added layer on, and you can easily up the price with 45 to 50% by just adding something so small onto it. And the people are wowed by it. And then they forget about the first topper because they don't want it. They want the better option. And yeah, we found it works for us.
But guys, what I've now recently with those cake blocks, they are making so many of them, I don't know what to do anymore. And an A4 sheet of this glitter costs you R7 for a sheet, an A5 sheet. You can fit quite a lot of cake blocks on here because they're 100 by most of the time 40. I sell my cake blocks for R40, between 20 and 40, depending on the size. Obviously, when it comes to the acrylic, it's 40. When it comes to foam, it's 20. That's a big markup, and they're selling like hotcakes. Simple reason, no one else in the Richards Bay is making them yet. No one's got onto it.
Yeah, and so you might be thinking to yourself, you're R7 and you're selling it for R40, you're stealing from people. And no, you're not stealing from people. If they want to make it with a R7 piece of material, they need to go and buy a 100,000 Rand laser. I can't see anybody, because let's say you got a 50,000 Rand laser, you got a chiller, you've got and you have to buy an extra extract. I mean, they're already sitting at 75,000 Rand, and that's got to pay itself off, and it should pay itself off in about 3 years. So if you are saying, look, this piece of thing cost me R7, I'm going to sell it for 14 Rand, you're going to cover your material in a bit of your time, and you're never, ever going to have money to replace your tube when it decides to blow up one day. So just keep in mind that you're playing the long game. The laser doesn't last forever. Some of that money that you're making, you have to put away for a rainy day. And quite frankly, I've started saying that to people when they start getting nasty with me on WhatsApp or what about the price, I say, well, go buy yourself a 100,000 Rand laser and do it yourself. And that's literally where the conversation either stops or they say, okay, and they pay me and do it. But that's the short and long of my attitude towards pricing and what we're worth. Right, guys, we're coming to the end of it. Just before we open the thing up for general chat, I owe you guys a bunch of things. I owe you guys all my topper files, and I owe you guys the details for the competition. I'll throw all that on the group a little bit later. I didn't get everything as prepared as I like. We had a little bit of a power outage and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, that's fine. I can just maybe say one last thing. I see we got a couple of people who joined us who I don't recognize from our CNC and Laser WhatsApp group. So if you're not on the group and you would like to join,
stick my WhatsApp number in the chat as well.
oh, that'll help. Thanks a lot, Billy.
Just WhatsApp me if you're not in any of the groups and you want the files and you want the details to the comp.
Again, as per any of other sessions, I thought I knew everything about doing this. And I was thinking, wow, man, you can't teach me anything on this. And once again, I'm wrong on that.
There's 100 ways to do the same thing. And 99% of the time, your way is slower than somebody else's way. And
Oh,
it's difficult.
yes.
Some of the things she done gave me like OCD and I wanted to freak out. But then some of the things were like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well done, Tanya. You were great.
I don't know what went wrong with that first one. It's not my fault.
It was nerves
It freaked
and a
me out.
broken mouse.
I can tell you now, if you do a presentation and everything goes according to plan from start to finish, you'll find yourself waking up 5 minutes later and it was all a dream. It doesn't happen.
No, I must say it is amazing how on Corel you can do basically the same thing in a completely different way. I was also watching Tanya working on that first cake topper and I was just like, what are you doing? Because I have a completely different method. But also learned a few tricks, so thanks, Tanya.
And there's about 500 more that you wouldn't have even covered because we could have taken that very first one and we could probably spend 2 hours and have a glass of wine, and then at the end somebody's still going to say, oh, I have a problem, and we haven't covered one of those because every font is different, every picture is different.
Yes.
Then when you're trying to weld different elements and you haven't first converted them to curves, that's where most of your problems start happening. So you'll see the first answer anybody ever gives on the groups when somebody has a cake topper problem, I don't think they read, they just go cake topper problem, curves. And that normally fixes the problem.
I must admit, after all these years, I still don't have a set method of doing them. Because for some reason, sometimes I go and I break the text apart and it's all loose letters. Other times I go and once you got the shape tool, you can move them in with your cursor keys. And once you've done that, you can just go to object and shape. And other times I convert them to curves. So I still haven't found the way that is the set way for me to do it. Now, thanks to Tanya, I've got 3 more ways to figure out and fit them in the arsenal and then see which is going to work best for me.
Unfortunately, each one is different.
I quickly want to show you guys here on my screen as a little bonus with that Clarendon and why we love it as our go-to font when it's a rush job, then we don't give them a choice on font. If it's a rush job, you take my font and that's it. And most of the time we found that this Clarendon, it looks fancy enough, it's basic enough to work with and stuff, but it's not joined. I see Tanya likes to move it together. I don't like doing that because I'm lazy and I don't frankly want to spend the time. The quick way, like she showed, is you put this thing across the bottom there, but I don't like that either. It kind of looks like an underline, right? So what I found out works very lekker. So I'll go 1 down, 1 up, 1 down, 1 up. I'm just not doing them very nice, but it's going to have the same effect. So I'll go 1 down, 1 up, 1 down, 1 up, and 1 up. And then look what happens if you now go and weld these all together. It will work on if you've got a little stocky and stuff there. You might see it might be a little bit flimsy in the middle and you can add another one in there. But that up down breaks your eyes that you don't actually see it's welded. It looks to you like, it's unwelded. But when you put your stocky on, it will still work. And then each letter is still on its own and it doesn't join the bottom of the end. The other method, if you don't like doing it that, in this case, I wouldn't do it that way. Like I said, it's going to be a bit flimsy. I would, let's just say I would join all of the words, but the individual letters, like an A, I won't close the A up. I won't close the R up. I won't close that N up. I'll just join ones that aren't joined so that it doesn't look like a streepie all the way through. You know, something like that. It will just be a nice little neat one. Because at the end of the day, a cake topper is a visual thing. So you could use 100 different ways to get it structurally sound. Or you can put the loose letters and you can paste them onto a piece of perspex. Then it looks like your cake topper is kind of floating in the air. You know, you make a let me draw one here. Just make a square around that, around the corners. Ooh, that didn't work.
I've done a lot of the clear perspex floating effect kind of thing for toppers. I'll look for a few photos and share it on the group later.
So if this here was your stocky and you had a photo or something or whatever, and you pasted that onto the stocky, then when they're taking photos and stuff, it can look like your things floating in the air. I bet your 50 neighbors aren't doing that, by the way.
For those of you that do like to shift everything together, I can quickly show you a shortcut that I use. So if you have to do like cake topper, let's use Tanya's example, make it a little bit bigger. If you just do Control K, it already breaks up your word into, or your everything into 2 separate words. So that's just a quick and easy way to fix that. And then if you want to, let's just choose let's do any font here. If you go, before you convert to curves, and go to the shape tool, the one that usually takes you to your little nodes, then you can see that one there will, if you have more than one word, then it will move them further apart. But if you click on that one, you can drag them further, or you can squash them together in one go.
Leona,
That's
you
going
can
to
actually
save you
move.
so much time.
So this is what I usually use. It's just, yeah, this is not the best font though. Yes, but just to, let's do this one. Yeah, so just go to your little note thingy and then just, there you go.
What you can also do is those little blocks, you can select them individual, and then with your nudge factor, you can move the letters individually. Yeah, when it's selected like that. And that is something that I use quite often. So if you just select,
and then, oh, sorry.
Yeah, if you just select one of those little blocks beneath the letters.
Those.
Yes. But with the other tool selected, then you can select the block and then you can move the letters individually.
Oh, this is cool. Thank you.
So that's the method that I normally use. I hold Control while I move them, and then they all stay in line.
Yeah. And then what I also do, when I do convert to curves, I break apart all of the letters so that they are, you can see 6 objects, so all of them are separate now. Then select all of them, Control Q to convert to curves, and then you have your separate letters, but the inside, all it is, like Billy says, is just stays with your letters, so everything is together there. And you don't have to, you can move your letters without losing your inner little holes. Okay, that is my 5 cents.
Funny enough, a little trick like that with the Orlik is not moving, it's going to save me 5 seconds on every topper. But you know, if I'm doing 10 toppers in an hour, you know, it's probably going to drop the that job down to like 30 minutes. Because every little thing that you learn saves you 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, and you add
And all
10
of those
steps,
add
10
up.
steps in making a topper saves you
Mm.
2 minutes. I mean, when we first started toppers, it probably would take us an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And then as we were doing them, we got quicker and quicker and quicker. And I mean, eventually you can do a topper in 5 to 10 minutes. I think is a fair time, shorter than 10, 15 odd minutes. If you're doing a topper in that time, you're doing okay.
I'm by nature, I say I'm a lazy person, but I hate spending time on something. If I can get it done in 5 minutes, I hate working 10 minutes on it. So I will once or twice invest the time on finding a more efficient way of doing it, like scrutinizing the stuff that Tanya showed and see how I can keep that in my arsenal so that I can get to it and use it when I need it, so I don't waste time. Being efficient is really one of the most important things when it comes to design. So yes, that's so, yeah.
Something else that I was making notes here while Tanya's working, scribbling down all of the tips and tricks she gave me, things that I don't know. And I just see something else that I wrote down that I quickly want to show you guys. Especially for those of you that's just starting out with designing your own cake toppers. So what I do is I have my cake topper file. I usually do all of them in one file, so everything's together. Okay, and then I have, sorry, this one is a mess. Then I have my stockies already made, so I just copy and paste from there to wherever I am busy working, so that I don't have to redraw the stockies each and every time. And then also those are no, those are not glued, those are welded. Let's just break them apart. And then what you can also do if you want to just move your, let's go back to this topper one quickly. Okay, there. Let me just get
Liana, while you're doing that,
stockies back.
I've been bragging about working efficiently. Yet for some reason, every time I do a top, I draw the damn stockies.
Yeah, so I just use this one. Always copy and paste it in because I don't have time to redo the stockies every time. Okay, let's just break them apart. Then I move the first one, the one on the left, to where I would like to put that one. Then the other one, you select the other one, you hold down the control button, and then you can only move it horizontally. And you move it to wherever you want it, and you don't have to try and level them or anything. They are already where you want them to be. Or like Tanya said, just select the top two nodes, drag up. And what you can also do then is when you hold the control button down, it kind of clicks it into position so that you don't have a give a stockie like that.
I'm learning a lot. I need to start writing this down.
I think every week when we are doing these sessions, it's just like, wow, I didn't know you can do that.
But yeah, in our house, we're running out of names for the different moves now because it was a Carlo move and a Liana move, but now we've got like Carlo move 1, Carlo not. Now we need to find a different naming convention because we can't use people's names anymore. Liana move 5.0.
Yeah, and then also, great. Like Tanya said, the glitter foam is like the best thing ever. You don't want to be sticking glitter on anything. It's just a big mess. So glitter foam. And I also like to use, this is a little bit of offcut. It's a glitter cardstock. Wait, no, I don't know if you can see, but it's like super glittery and it's a little bit thicker than the normal cardstock. So this one also works great if you need to do glitters.
On the side of cakes because they wrap them around the front of the cake.
Exactly, and this
top
one
on
is
top
kind
there
of
that can actually blend nice and lacquer.
yeah, this one's almost kind of plasticky at the back, so it will work perfectly for on the side of cake.
We had at one stage, we got a client who actually brought us a similar cardstock. It's a bit thicker than your normal cardstock, but it was super shiny. It was literally like mirror. The laser did not want to cut it. It was too shiny. We literally had to tape the top to cut it, because if we turn it upside down and mirror, it would burn the shiny side. We ended up using act tape that we use on the
Oh,
vinyl
wow.
to tape it, because just going to be able to cut it. It's just too shiny.
I've seen those, but I've never cut it, so that's quite interesting. I do like using cardstock on cake toppers, because of the wide variety of colors you get, and then I don't have to paint and all of that. So I really do a lot of paper toppers, which I stick to a 3mm MDF backing, but yeah, it just saves you tons of time on painting. And you can do lots of different colors. You can add some dimension and everything to your topper.
Carlo, what are we doing next week?
Next week we're going back to the more boring things and the theory of the introduction to costing of laser work. So
You want to tell everybody about your plan with the scheduling on why you're saying boring?
yes, if it's such an important topic, and I'm hoping everybody can stay awake for an hour as we work through that. So we are trying to, no, we're not trying, we are scheduling the sessions so that we do one probably more serious theoretical business study type, which is so important, which we shouldn't, but we do neglect. And then every other week, a bit more fun stuff like the topper, which is a bit more engaging and nicer to do, and where you actually learn something which is practical and can use in your everyday life. It's going to be an important one, especially if you don't have a costing calculator. I really think we can all benefit on that. So please set your dates to that. And the week after that, we'll have a fun one again.
Yeah, so 1 week fun and then 1 week punishment, and 1 week fun and 1 week punishment.
I wasn't going to go
guys,
that route, but okay.
But what's really great about this little Protege Effect project is that it's taken off a lot faster than what we ever imagined it would. We've already got people who are not even in the laser cutting and CNC industry. A business lady offered to come and do a class on business costing and business finance, not manufacturing specifically for laser cutting, for stuff like Carla is going to show us, but she's actually willing to come and join the Protege Effect and show us some proper ways on how to run your business and your costing, and and stuff outside of manufacturing. So people are seeing the idea behind this, and how we're trying to help each other. And yeah. Also, if you want to present something, or you're more than welcome. We are happy if we don't have to listen to Carlo and Billy Johanna all the time. If we can get some other people who've got different ideas, or even if it's not a different idea, come and show us your method, because that's how we're going to learn from each other, is learning the different methods.